One thing I've learned after nearly 30 years in property is that behind every property transaction, there's a story, a big decision, and often a lot more emotion and complexity than people expect. This podcast is all about giving you access to the people, insights, and strategies behind smart property decisions so you can make better moves, whether you're buying your first home, investing, selling, downsizing, or planning your next step.
Welcome back to the Melbourne Property Brief with Warwick Brookes. Today we're talking all things real estate, from building a long-term career in the industry through to what's actually happening in the market right now with buyers and sellers. Because while the markets change, buyer behaviour shifts and conditions evolve, there are still certain things great agents consistently understand about people, property, and how to navigate both. I'm joined today by Luke Sacco, partner of the Nelson Alexander Northcote office. Luke has spent more than 20 years in real estate, starting in property management before moving to sales, auctioneering and leadership, and somehow still brings the same level of enthusiasm and energy to the industry today. Luke, thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks, Warwick.
How did you first get into real estate?
So, Warwick, I finished year 12, 18 years of age, had a couple of part-time jobs, and none of those were really working out at the time. And I guess it didn't take me long. I was working in a factory to realise that I was no good with my hands. I didn't like getting dirty, so I like wearing a suit to work, and I enjoyed dealing and talking to people. So I guess in a way, I kind of fell into it.
You started in the rentals department, you worked your way through to sales, auctioneering, and now you are partner in Nelson Alexander, one of the biggest northern agency. Do you always see yourself building a long-term career in this industry?
I guess as I started out as a leasing consultant in the property management department. I guess at the start it was just a job. I probably realised pretty quickly though that I did enjoy it, and to a great degree I was pretty good at it. And I guess from there it's kind of just led on. But when I first started, it was just to get a job because my parents were on my back and to get out of the house. But I love it, so I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Yeah, well, you've been in real estate for a couple of decades now. I'm coming up to 3 decades.
What's interesting, when you said 20, it's nearly 25 for me. So
yeah,
time travels fast.
It's a really emotional industry and it's hard to maintain enthusiasm and energy, but you seem to do it really well. How do you kind of maintain that?
I guess a lot of that also comes down to my team. I've got some really good colleagues and I've got a great work environment. I guess to a degree, I still enjoy the deal. I still enjoy dealing with people. I'm surrounded by a really, really good team, so I actually enjoy coming to work every day. And Nelson Alexander is a great company to work for, so it's just kind of fallen into place.
Yeah, so what advice would you give someone who's thinking about starting a career in real estate today?
I guess the advice I'd give people is you really have to be consistent. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's good, there's bad that happens throughout the week. But as long as you enjoy it and you do the right thing by people, and I think that's the main thing, as long as you're doing the right thing, the customers or the clients just keep coming back, which is great.
Yeah, when I talk to younger people in real estate, when I'm going out inspecting, and I ask them, how you going? And they kind of have that, yeah, look, it's a bit of work. My thing to them is always like, this is a lifestyle choice.
Yep.
This is not a job.
Yeah.
It has to become a part of your life because it's all encompassing. People will contact you. People don't understand, they don't want to be contacted outside of work hours, but real estate agents are contacted out at work hours all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a big change in that over the last, 3 to 5 years since lockdown, with a lot more people working at home. A lot more people are able to do appointments and meet you during the day. So that's probably changed a little bit. When I first started, there was a lot more appointments at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So the hours were a lot longer and the days were a lot longer on Saturday. But I think you're right. If you enjoy it and you do the right thing by people, which is the main thing, when you're doing the right thing, the clients just keep coming back. And I guess when they're coming back and you're getting work, it makes it a lot easier than when you're chasing the work all the time.
Yeah, true. I think also, when both of us being in industry so long, we've seen the people who come in it and don't succeed, and we've seen the ones who do succeed. What do you think separates those two people?
I think when you kind of said that, where they come and go pretty quickly in industry, I think a lot of it is, like I said, the consistency, but you've just got to put in the time. You've got to put in the hours. Again, you've got to do the right thing by people and they will come back to you. But there's no shortcut. There's no special trick or no special place you can advertise. It's about making the calls, doing the appointments, and the work just keeps flowing through.
An interesting question due to what's going on in the world in regards to the budget and the war and interest rates, and you obviously dealing with buyers and sellers every day. What are you seeing in your marketplace right now?
I guess what we're seeing at the moment is more than ever, we're seeing different sections of our markets be strong and then other sections not as strong. So There's no more investors in the market. We haven't seen those guys for the last 3 or 5 years. They've kind of really dropped off. The market, anywhere between $0 to $2 million, is still relatively strong. There are still a lot of first home buyers out there. They are nervous. You've got to spend more time with them. You've definitely got to demonstrate value, and you've got to put in the work. They're not just turning up, but they seem to still have some confidence. The market that's kind of dropped off a lot in our space is anything over $3 million. And it's not that it's dropped, it's just people are kind of sitting back at the moment. They're just really waiting to see what happens. Unrenovated compared to renovated stock, there's a real difference in that now, in that the unrenovated people are kind of scared of dealing with builders and the cost of building. So the unrenovated stock has dropped off, and the renovated stock people are paying a premium for, stuff they can get straight into and just enjoy. I guess when I first started, you had a single fronted terrace. You'd sell 1 week and then you'd sell the renovated terrace, and they kind of made similar money. There was no difference in the unrenovated to renovated stock. Where now we're really seeing a difference. People just want life to be easy.
Yeah, I've really noticed that. Like, everyone wanted the unrenovated one in the past because they could do what they wanted to do with it. But yeah, since COVID and even now, the cost of building is astronomical, and people are super scared about how much it's going to cost them to do it, and getting something done properly now is definitely the most popular choice.
Couldn't agree more. And I guess it's all the barbecue talk. Everybody that's talking to their friends have all those horror stories of dealing with a builder, or the prices have doubled and tripled. People are just staying away, so they'll pay a little bit more for something they can move straight into and enjoy, as opposed to going back and trying to do the weekends renovating it themselves. It's really changed.
I think also builders haven't done themselves any favours. There's a lot of ones out there that are valid to get some negative feedback about that. Yeah. But so right now, do you think, looking forward, do you think sellers should have a different approach into how they would go to market compared to previous years?
Yeah. I know for us, 3 or 5 years ago, everything was auctioned. We just picked a time on a Saturday and you loaded it up somewhere between 10 and 4 o'clock on a Saturday, and you auctioned it, and auction every half an hour. Where now we're doing a lot more expressions of interest. We're doing a lot more off market. We're still doing auctions, but out of 10, we'd probably do 3 or 4 auctions. We do 3 or 4 expressions of interest, and we do a few off market. So really we're leaning a lot more on our relationship with buyers. We find that's the key difference, getting buyers through. And, we're starting off in that off market phase, and depending on feedback, depending on the level of interest, we'll then decide whether we take it into an auction or whether we go into an expression of interest. So I think there's a lot more strategy that agents are using. There's a lot more time with buyers. There's a lot more educating buyers that kind of falls into play. So it's a very different market to where we were 5 years ago.
And do you think that with the government's proposed changes to auction reserves and so forth, do you think that's going to push more people towards expressions of interest?
I think, could potentially. I personally am not scared of the changes, in that I think if we all have to advertise a reserve price, as long as everybody's playing with the same rules, I guess it stops the underquoting, stops competing against agents that are deliberately underquoting. So I guess to agree, having a reserve price doesn't scare me, but I can see more people moving towards an expression of interest. I can see more people selling off market. It's just with everybody being so nervous at the moment.
Yeah, I feel like this is also going to potentially have a little bit of a negative impact on those vendors, which we all know about, that expectations are not realistic, and you can show them as much data as you want, but their property's worth more. And so you're going to have to essentially promote that property at a higher level than what the market really wants to pay for it. So it will be interesting to see how those kind of properties start to pan out.
We are seeing that a fair bit at the moment. People remember what their place was worth 6 or 12 months ago. They don't remember what it was worth 2 or 3 years ago. We are seeing a lot of properties come back onto the market that we sold in 2021. And they're worth less today than what they were worth. We are seeing a lot of properties come back on, sold in 2021, and they're clearly worth less than what they were worth then. So yeah, I think, now we're dealing with owners that have to be a little bit more realistic. The market's changed. And yeah, falling into that auction scenario, unless you quote them right and have realistic vendors, it's really hard to create that competition.
What are some of the mistakes sellers are making in the current market?
I think mistakes are, some are rushing themselves to market. I think presentation's very important nowadays. I think you've got to make sure that you present it right, fix up all the little issues, all the little dints or nicks in the place. You've got to get that right. You've really got to furnish your property right. And I think you've got to make sure that you're selecting an agent that's got a strong database. You've got to make sure that the agent's got buyers and can really add value to the process. I think that's really, really important. And then I think spend the time making sure that you've got your prices right. You can really create some competition. If you go too high and your property sits on the market too long, in the end, the only way of selling it is to continually keep dropping it, which means in the end, you end up selling it for less than what it's worth. So I think you should spend some time having a look at some other stock to make sure you're comparing it to likewise properties.
Yeah, I think your interesting point you made on the presentation, I've seen a big shift in people presenting their properties better. There's a clear distinction of how well a property goes if you can paint with a good styling company and just do those little bits and pieces that don't cost a lot in the scheme of things, but can have a massive difference in the amount of interest you have and the end result.
I couldn't agree more. So, when the market was strong, didn't matter how people presented them, they were selling themselves. In a market that we're in today, I think you talk about painting, presentation, it's super important. If you were selling your car, you'd polish it up and you'd detail it before you put it to market. I think you've got to spend the time doing that with your house. And then staging, when you talk about good furniture and staging it right, it's really important that the furniture flows with the house as opposed to just using a package that's dragged across from another place, making sure that you get the right furniture in there and the house presents right, because you've only got one chance on that first impression. People walk out of the house and they're not in love with it. It's really hard to get them back.
Yeah, we just recently had a house that we went through our vendor advocacy and we got a quote with a quality company that we know does styling really well. The vendor, through a friend, got somebody at half the price and they ended up wanting to go with that person. When we turned up for the photos, we were just shocked at how badly furnished that property was.
Yep.
They just threw the furniture, didn't care about it. You could tell it was staged furniture.
Yep.
It was cheap staged furniture. Yep. We're talking about a $2 million house here. And as soon as somebody walks in and sees that, just tarnishes it.
I think cheap furniture reflects back on the house. So if the furniture doesn't look any good, people kind of associate that with the quality of the home. So, yeah, and it's not that you have to get the most expensive package, but you do want the furniture to match and fit in with the house, not only in size, but also in style.
That's really important in the north as well, because I think the north has really come into its own. When I first started real estate, it wasn't as popular, but I've really noticed that High Street Northcote, great at night time.
Yeah.
Great bars,
yeah,
restaurants. Brunswick, like from a perspective of lifestyle and going out and so forth, the best spot in Melbourne.
Couldn't agree more. I live just off High Street, walk up and down the street, everything's at my doorstep. So, the Brunswick, Northcote sort of corridor into Thornbury is amazing now. The activity, the hype, the people, it's got a great feel to it. And I think that's part of when you go back to staging, making sure you're kind of leaning on that feel.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's got a real buzz to it.
Yeah, like it's different to your Turak house.
Completely different.
I've been watching that side town. I think that's got one of the better places to be buying in Melbourne.
Well, you're so close to the city, you're surrounded, there's heaps of good public transport, you've got parklands, you've got everything at your doorstep. So it's a great spot to be in.
Yeah, most of the first time buyers for us, we are now kind of in your areas are kind of 1.3 to 1.6 million. Most people now are kind of looking at that. We're getting inquiries from, they're just all wanting to win over that side.
Yeah, and I guess that's when I said earlier, that $0 to $2 million range is still pretty hot and active. I guess you're not dealing with investors. Most of the buyers we're dealing with are young first home buyers or young families. They kind of start in that Carlton, Fitzroy sort of corridor and slowly work their way through Northcote, Preston, Thornbury and into Reservoir. They're seeing great value there. And they've got good public transport, which is drives straight up St. George's Road or straight up High Street. So it's a great spot to be in.
So we've obviously had a lot of stuff happen over the last 2 weeks. Budget, we've had a couple of interest rate rises. We've got another one on the horizon coming up. From Nelson Alexander's or your perspective, you guys kind of thinking about how you see the rest of this year panning out?
Yeah, it's interesting because over the last 2 weeks, and we probably haven't seen the full effect of the budget yet, but rates, the increase in rates and the talk of rates going up again, I guess we've seen a bit of a shortage of stock. We're getting called into less, we call appraisals or less valuations. So it feels like between now and Christmas, there could potentially be less stock come onto the market, which will be interesting because I think it's all about supply and demand. With less stock, it could kind of level off the other way. In saying that, we're dealing with a lot of nervous buyers. So we're dealing with a lot of buyers at the moment that are kind of, instead of diving in, they're second guessing, having that, that second and that third or that fourth inspection, doing building inspections, getting builders, getting parents through. So we're seeing a lot more of that. Every deal is just taking that little bit longer. So it does feel like, we could see a bit of a shortage of stock, and, unless consumers can get a bit more confidence back in, I think each deal is almost going to be a bit of a grind getting through at the moment.
Yeah, and that kind of comes back to think about the industry. And obviously we've been in the industry a long time. We've seen the bad times in the industry and the good times. And obviously the last bad time we had was during COVID, which kind of knocked a lot of people out of the industry. Do you think what's happening right now is going to kind of see quite a few people leave to go to become buyer advocates? Because apparently that's super easy.
Well, we've already lost a couple to become buyers advocates, which has been interesting. But no, I think we are seeing a few people drop out. We're seeing less people want to get into the industry, kind of a bit tighter with the younger guys as well. We've had a few rental people that were considering moving across now stay in rentals. So I think everyone's kind of watching this space, but I think it will be a bit tighter.
Yeah, why would you actually go and sell real estate when you can be a buyer's advocate and make $600,000 sitting at home doing nothing?
Seems easy, doesn't it? Seems easy. Seems easy. No, I guess, we have had a couple of colleagues kind of step into that role now, and I guess it's just something a bit different. But I guess the seasoned agents, the people that have been doing it well, the people that have been doing the right thing by their clients have still got the work, so they won't be going anywhere.
Us kind of getting back to the vendor on the selling side, we have kind of touched on this during it, but in my experience, the best outcomes happen when sellers are realistic, prepared, and adaptable to the market in front of them. Would you?
100%. 100%. We talked about presenting it right, spending time researching the market and listening to the market before you jump onto the market, and then being flexible. So we talk about our off-market strategy to start off with, and we don't commit to an auction or an EOI or a private sale. You get some people through. It's almost like, you dip your toe in the water, feel the temperature, and then you work out a plan from there. But I couldn't agree more.
So after 2 decades, nearly
2.5. 2.5.
What's the one thing about property or people that you think will never change?
I think people enjoy dealing with people. So I think, one thing that will never change, nothing beats sitting in front of somebody in their personal space, in their lounge room. I guess to a degree, people open up. I guess things that won't change is people enjoy dealing with people. And I think if you do the right thing by people, that sort of connection will never change. That didn't make sense. I think what will never change is people really enjoy dealing with people. I don't think you can ever take that touch out of it. So whilst somebody doesn't want to buy the house, you can never force them or trick them into buying a house. People will buy what they want, but people enjoy dealing with people they like, and what will never change is people enjoy dealing with people.
Yeah. I think what will never change is that the connection that people have through property and the emotion of property will always be there. I think you'd probably say, this is one thing that AI is going to really struggle to compete with.
I think the thing that's never going to change is people really enjoy dealing with people, and I think they enjoy the connection through property. So I think AI not having that personal touch, it's going to be really difficult for them to replace that interaction.
Yeah, I think AI is going to really struggle kind of trying to take over this industry.
Yeah, we can see it coming in and out in different sections, but I think in the end, nothing beats a phone call, or nothing beats, that handshake or sitting in someone's living room and giving them some good advice.
Yeah, 100%. I think what's really interesting about conversations like this is that while the market itself is always evolving, the fundamentals of good real estate, relationships, trust, communication, and understanding people still matter enormously. And hearing perspectives from someone who has worked through so many different market cycles gives great insight into where things are at right now and where they may be heading. We've also put together a simple buyer and seller market readiness checklist to help people better prepare for today's market. We'll include the link in the show notes. Luke, really appreciate you joining me today. Thanks for listening to the Melbourne Property Brief, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode.
Thank you.